In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the steering center link on your Jeep Grand Cherokee located on the front steering system. Using your 19mm socket, loosen and remove the lug nuts. Once you have the lug nuts removed, grab the wheel, remove it, and set it aside. Now, in replacing our adjuster sleeve here, we have two different ways we can set the preliminary alignment. When we remove our outer tie rod ends, we can go ahead and count the amount of revolutions it takes to unscrew our tie rod ends and then screw them in the same amount of times. The other thing you can do is find the crown or the point on the front side of our knuckle here. That's pretty much a center point of our ball joint stud on both the driver and passenger side. Use your tape measure with some assistance. I'm going to go right to the center. We are at 56 3/4 inches. That way there, when we reassemble our adjuster sleeve here, we're going to measure the knuckle and we should have 56 3/4. If not, we'll continue to adjust everything until we can get that. That'll give us our base preliminary alignment. Then, once you complete the job, bring it down and get your alignment properly done. Use your 14mm wrench and socket to loosen this clamp here. Now, we did spray this down with some rust penetrant to go ahead and loosen that up. I'm going to go ahead and use my hammer and just kind of give this a few taps. I want to go ahead and loosen this clamp. You can also use a small pry bar to go ahead and get in there and open that up a little bit. The purpose here is that you just want to make sure that this is free and releases clamping power from the tie rod end here. On the damper shock here, we're going to use our 15mm socket to loosen this nut. And on the back side is a 19mm on the shock itself. For that stud, go ahead, loosen and remove that. Go ahead and pull the damper shock out from the back side. I'm going to go ahead and give this clamp a few bonks. Just open that up a little bit. On the top of our tie rod end here, I want to go ahead and use our pliers and want to remove this cotter pin. Now, it's pretty rusty. We're going to do the best we can to straighten that out. You know, ours has two little legs on it, so we're going to straighten out both of them the best we can. And then using the cutter end, we're going to try and grab the other end here and wiggle that out. And what I'm trying to do is get enough of the head of the cotter pin loose so we can grab it and work it out. Now, cotter pins are a one-time use anyways, so it does not matter if it breaks. It's just easier to take it out in one piece if you can do so. If you can get a bit of that head, you can grab that with the cutters, pinch and pull. There we go. And use our 19mm socket, loosen that nut. I'm just going to thread that back on just a few threads. Now to release our outer tie rod from the knuckle, go ahead and use a hammer, and you're going to hit the knuckle right here. Now we're trying to unscrew our outer tie rod on here. The adjuster sleeve is spinning all as one, and we want to go ahead and keep this from spinning so we can unthread that. We're going to go ahead and pop our retainer clip off here. And then we're going to go ahead and slide our locking collar down. By doing this here, it allows us to get into the split on the top of the adjuster sleeve and get some rust penetrant sprayed in there. We're also going to apply some heat to this here to go ahead and break this free from the adjuster. Now that we've applied some heat to this here, let's go ahead and loosen it. Remember, count the amount of times it takes to fully remove it. Counting the position of the ball joint facing up, rotate it 1 would be 1, and continue to do so. Now I'm going to use my wrench. I'm just going to pop it on the ball joint stud. "26 turns it took for me to remove that outer tie rod. Now we're going to unthread this from the driver's side outer tie rod. I'm going to go ahead and mark this here. I'm going to use our 15mm socket to loosen this clamp. Slide that clamp down. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to unthread this from here. I'm going to count the amount of times it takes to unthread this from the outer tie rod. Okay, remove our clamp, set that aside. Now I'm applying some anti-seize compound to the threads on this here. Take your clamp, slide that up and on, and then thread on the adjuster. Now right where this starts catching on the threads, I'm going to go ahead and mark this, and I'm going to count the amount of revolutions it took to remove the other one to screw this one on. Now we had counted out 20 rotations. That'll give us our preliminary setting. Go ahead and slide your clamp on. Now we counted 26 revolutions once that thread started. We put some anti-seize compound on the threads here. These are 26. Line this up, put that on, and then we'll install the nut. Now with our setup installed, we want to go ahead and measure out that 56 3/4 from the leading edge of that little point there on our knuckle to the other side on the driver's side. Let's go ahead and tighten down our clamp here. Now that we have our alignment spec set, go ahead and snug that down. Next, we'll go ahead and torque it. Torque it to 30 foot-pounds. Tighten down the castle nut on the outer tie rod. Torque the nut to 35 foot-pounds. Now, when you're tightening this down, you want to look for the hole in the stud itself. Make sure it lines up with one of the notches in the castle nut. That way there we can feed our cotter pin through. Go ahead and feed the cotter pin through. Take one of the tabs, fold it up and over. Tap it down, snip off the excess. Go ahead and grab your shock, install a bolt. Go ahead and snug down this bolt. Torque down this bolt to 30 foot-pounds. Go ahead and tighten down this clamp. Torque it to 30 foot-pounds. Install the wheel. Once you have the wheel in place, we're going to start all of our lug nuts by hand. Let's go ahead and snug those down. Torque the lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds. After finishing this installation, it's important to have an alignment done on your vehicle.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.